With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back with Dr. Daliah. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So it's my birthday today. Ooh, happy birthday to me. Big day. Actually, I'm not celebrating. I'm not doing much today, which I think is a mistake. But it's a Monday. I have to work. I got things to do. I'm about to go out of town. It's a Monday. And I think we celebrate our birthdays all wrong. Yeah, I've talked about the history of birthdays, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But when our birthday comes around, I think we keep missing the mark. The first thing you should do when it's your birthday is, if your parents are alive or if they're in heaven, spend a minute thanking them for you being born. You know, we're like, it's my birthday, and it's all, but the only reason why I'm here is because my parents had sex and my mom went through the grueling act of, I don't know how many days of labor to have me. And then my parents had to support me. So I'm here today because of them. So the first thing you're supposed to do with your birthday is thank your mommy and daddy. If they're up in heaven, pray, do what you need to do. The second thing you should do is never, ever, ever get depressed about your age. You know, I'm middle-aged, and I'm talking like middle age, like, middle age is middle age. But I'm not going to get depressed about it. It's better than the alternative. What, you don't want to age? If you're not aging, that means only one thing. So, because people say, oh, no, I don't think about my birthdays anymore. I don't celebrate anymore because I'm getting older. It's a huge reason to celebrate. You made it another year, considering, all the possibilities that God forbid could happen. So celebrate that. Thank God. Right? Maybe I should do that first. I should thank God, although I did. I thank God before I thank my mom. But, thank God for you being here. Or if you aren't religious, understand that this is a huge, huge accomplishment to make it another year, especially if you have bad driving habits, bad eating habits, dietary habits, And then, it's okay to work on your birthday. It's okay to be like, well, I'm going to put it off until Monday or the weekend. That's totally fine. But make sure you set aside some special time. The problem I have is because I'm always working, and that's just me, I'm a workaholic, things just pass. And I notice that the time goes by too quickly. You almost need to try to stop time to enjoy it. And so whether it's taking a little staycation or going for a drive, just do something that you don't normally do so that you could kind of soak it in a little bit and try to stop time, even if it's figuratively, so that you can, remember things. And then don't just do that on your birthday. Understand that life goes on, that you're going to one day be 29 like I am. And that 29 is going to turn into 39 and 49 and 59 and 69 and 79. And those are blessings. Those aren't bad things. But if you're like, well, I wish I did this, use your birthday to kind of look at what you could be doing or what you think you should be doing and should be accomplishing. See, I'm excited because I set up a trip where I could see my nieces and nephews this weekend or this coming week. And so I'm really kind of excited about that. And so if there's things you want to do that, I don't know, makes you closer with your family, or you want to build something or create something, do that. Don't just sit there on your birthday going, I'm going to get drunk. I am kicking myself that I don't remember my 21st birthday. I don't even remember what happened. I mean, I turned 21. Most of us don't. Why? Well, because your friends take you out to go drinking and then you forget it all. I don't remember my 21st birthday. That's ridiculous. And that was a big birthday. I remember my sweet 16. So that was great. We didn't really even have a sweet 16. So why do we celebrate birthdays? So interestingly, I wrote a little piece on this. They say birthday celebrations during early civilizations coincided with astrology. And so, like me, I'm Gemini. And so sometimes people would be, if they were really into the astronomy sort of things, they would kind of maybe recognize your day, do something that has to do with that. According to WCCO TV, pagans thought that evil spirits lurked on days of major changes, like the day you turned a year older. The ancient Greeks believed that each person had a spirit that attended his or her birth to keep watch. That spirit had a mystical relation with the god on whose birthday the individual was born. So that's interesting. So I don't know who kept watch, but, that's, I guess, what they used to believe. So, people always ask, well, why do we do a birthday cake? Do you have to do a birthday cake? Didn't originate till Germany in the 1400s, we believe. And they used to put rings or buttons or coins in them. And so if you got a piece with a coin, that means there's going to be financial luck in the future. If you got, a ring, then that might mean, marriage or something, although I don't know if they always use that. If there was like something like a little, to resemble a baby, that means you might get pregnant. So I'm wondering what my birthday cake will have. That's going to be interesting. So then why do you blow out the candles? Well, apparently ancient cultures would allow candles to foods for a variety of reasons to ward off evil spirits. But it was in the 1700s when in Germany, they would adorn birthday cakes with candles. They called it Kinderfest. Festival, Kinder, Kid. And so each candle represented a year of life with additional candles put on for future years. Now we just do one to grow, because, to add another 50 or 60 or 70 candles could destroy the cake. Now, the most popular birthday cake flavor, according to a survey done by 97.3 The Dog, they said the number one birthday cake flavor is chocolate. Some people also like cheesecake, chocolate chip, yellow or vanilla cake made it number 4. I was surprised. I thought that would be number 1. Red velvet, marble, carrot, lemon, coconut, and funfetti. I'm surprised cheesecake made number 2 for birthday cake. Why do you give gifts? Well, they say it's to kind of ward off the evil spirits. And then the happy birthday song came from a school principal back in 1893. Patty Hill and her sister kind of composed a song, Good Morning to All. And it's the same melody as Happy Birthday to You. By the way, I don't like the happy birthday song. You got to sit there while everyone's like, Happy birthday to you. Come up with something different. Like in Moonlighting, David Addison was like, da-da-da-da-da, today is your birthday. We'll be back, 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So they got the guy. The Minnesota suspect, the shooter, that shot multiple individuals, killing Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband and injuring Senator John Hoffman and his wife, has been found and arrested. He was arrested last night, charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. He was arrested after a 43-hour manhunt that was really scary because he had impersonated a cop in order to shoot these individuals. And so if he had, still been in uniform, looking like a Minnesota, county officer or state trooper, people could have let him in and possibly become victims themselves. So after 43 hours, they found him, arrested him. He was taken into custody in the Green Isle area. He was seen armed and was in military gear. And he is the primary suspect in the fatal shooting of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband and Senator John Hoffman and his wife. So, apparently he's being held on $5 million bail, and he may face federal charges. He had allegedly fatally shot Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, I believe at like 2 a.m. at their home, and then Senator John Hoffman and his wife at their home near Chaplin, I believe, where Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband lived in Brooklyn Park. So he's 57 years old. Apparently it took 20 SWAT teams. He has been charged via a warrant in Hennepin County with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. And from what we understand, there was a manifesto. The court documents say that 2 a.m. on June 14th, the Chaplin police officers responded to a shooting at the Hoffman's house. The 911 caller reported that a masked person had come to their door and shot their parents. Surveillance video from outside their house, according to Fox 9, showed a Ford SUV with police-style lights parked in the driveway. So allegedly, he had taken a police car. The video also showed who they believe was Boatler, wearing a mask, blue shirt, and police-style tactical vest with a badge and flashlight. He knocked on the door, allegedly, announced himself as a police officer, entered the home, and then shot Senator Hoffman and Yvette and then fled. Fortunately, they lived, but they've had very critical, they underwent surgery, and I don't have the current medical status, but from what we understand, they were still in critical and guarded condition. And then Brooklyn Park police learned of a shooting, and then, so when Brooklyn Park learned of this, they sent officers to the home of Representative Hortman. When police arrived at her home by 3:30, they saw the SUV that Boatler was driving, and officers saw Boatler there, so they couldn't get there in time. But it's amazing that they knew to already go to the possible potential victims' homes. And they say officers actually saw Boatler shoot the husband, Mark, through the open door. When they exchanged gunfire with Boatler, he fled inside their home. And then they found, sadly, both her husband and Representative Hortman dead from gunshot wounds. So officers searched inside his vehicle, found at least 3 AK-47 assault rifles, a 9mm handgun, and then a list of names and addresses of other public officials. Law enforcement also searched the surrounding area, located a ballistic vest, another firearm, mask, and a gold police-style badge. So it's not that people were saying, was he working with the police? Did somebody in the police force give him? No, these were obviously not authentic gear that the local police wore. Now, obviously this appears to be a targeted attack. People have been questioning, who was this guy? So there were some reports saying that he was a Governor Walz appointee to a previous post. His roommates say he was conservative and a Trump supporter. And then another report said he had a bunch of No Kings flyers in his car, which suggested that he was rioting against Trump and ICE. So while everybody's kind of fishing through, who this person was, what his motive was, the take home is this guy is one sick, allegedly. You're innocent until proven guilty, but if he is guilty of this, he is one sick son of a what. And I think the book should be thrown at him if it's if he was the one caught on camera, if he was the one that's proven to be the suspect, and to impersonate a police officer and then murder people. It showed the fact that he was thinking, he was planning, and we want the motive. People say, Dr. Daliah, if he's crazy, does the motive matter? It actually does, because we are surrounded by individuals who could be just as crazy. And I'm saying he's crazy because nobody of the right mind would gun down innocent civilians. So what made him think that murder was his calling? Was he listening to voices? Was he, what was going on in his head? Now, luckily, he's alive in terms of, with the arrest. And so many times when you do have mass shooters or you have murderers, they'll die on the scene or they'll kill themselves. So maybe they'll be able to get some information. But political assassinations, albeit rare, one of the most disgusting acts, because they're taking on somebody's belief, just like a hate crime, or who they are, who they represent, and they're targeting them for them being a part of a group. And it's frightening. And so stalking the victims, trying to lure them, pretending to be an officer. And it's scary because years ago, I believe this happened in Las Vegas, where there was a kidnapper who would dress up as a police officer. So kids would come over to the police officer because the police officer was not included in stranger danger. Police officers are who you go to. So kids were trusting them. And there was an alert that was, this was like in the early 2000s, where in our neck of the woods, they had to warn parents to tell their kids, do not go up to a random police officer because it could be the kidnappers. Now, they finally got the people who did this. I think it was a ring. But how scary when you can't feel like you could trust law enforcement. I do trust law enforcement. But do we know enough about what the badge looks like? Do we know enough about the nuances? So while this was all going down, I really felt bad for my Minnesota friends, and family, to where, police said, look, if an officer comes to your door, okay, call 911 and ensure that officer is legit. And they also reminded us that most officers do not work as a single person. All right, they would come to the door in pairs. Now, I'm sure the bad guys or crazy people might be like, okay, so it looks like two of us have to dress up now in order to make it look legit. So I really feel bad for law enforcement because, boy, do they have, they have their work cut out for them as, people with their copycat mentality to see how one person committed an act. They might want to try it as well. But, if a cop comes to your door, you're supposed to follow the command of law enforcement. And to think that it could be somebody who's pretending to be a cop. You could say, show me your badge. Show me your identification. Now, usually a police officer will identify themselves. There's a process that they follow. And if you ask them to identify themselves and they have an attitude, what the Hennepin County Police sheriff was recommending is to, call 911, verify. You can tell the officers, I'm calling 911, I'm verifying. Now, obviously, if the officers are trying to stop a crime, or they may come in, but if they're looking and searching for this suspect, people were scared to death to open the door. And so, to fear the police and fear if you could trust the police is scary. And to know the nuances of their, honestly, I have to keep up with the changes that our local LV Metro, Las Vegas Metro Police Department, where apparently there's been, changes in the pants, and they should change their uniforms, because you do have people who are copycats that get a hold of one and want to pretend and impersonate a cop and get free coffee and other sorts of things. But if you aren't up and aware on that, it could be scary. So thank God they got him. I believe there's going to be another news conference. But, to see individuals, whether they're Democrat, Republican, just doing their jobs, becoming targets, just like the assassination attempt on Trump. I mean, absolutely disgusting. So I'm glad they got him, and hopefully we'll learn more in the coming days. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah. I believe we have. We're just waiting on our guests. Daniel, how are we? Do we have the guests with us? Oh, I think while we're setting up the guests, I want to talk about. We have, unfortunately, a lot of, shall we say, questions on how to treat autism, and there's been a lot of discussion on using marijuana to treat autism. And parents have been telling me for years they've been controlling their child's autistic, shall we say, behavior or some of their anxiety on their own using marijuana. Now, we doctors have not embraced that because we just don't know what parents have. We don't know what the product is. We don't know if the product is tainted with chemicals and pesticides and laced. And so unfortunately, parents are very frustrated with the medical community because they're saying marijuana is helping their child, and we can't endorse that. Marlo Jeffrey, a nurse practitioner in Texas, told the Wall Street Journal, according to Daily Mail, that she tried countless medications to help her 11-year-old son, Jaden, who was diagnosed with autism and ADHD at the age of 5. He had suffered anger, aggression. So that parent started that child on gummies mixed with THC, the psychoactive chemical in marijuana, and claims the behavior improved a lot, calmed the child down. She claims that now his school, his grades, all improved. there's other individuals who said that they also use THC supplements. Now, we don't have enough studies that, sadly, looking at what is the safest level of these components in kids, especially in those that, may have autism, may be on other medications. But I know many of you have asked that, so we're going to revisit that. Our guests are on, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So moving forward, I'm very, very excited about our next guest. It is National Dairy Month. And as families gear up for the summer, we can use this time to improve our dairy, improve our vitamin D consumption, our calcium consumption. And I'm really excited for our next guest, Yvette Rios, lifestyle expert, TV host and contributor, known for her engaging approach to friendly solutions, has appeared on major networks like ABC, CBS, The Today Show. She has some very interesting tips on how we can improve our health and incorporate dairy into our diet. Yvette, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wow, that's great. So, we're busy people. So usually we like to go to the grab and go. Talk to us about some of the quick grab and go dairy options.
Yeah, you know what? Summertime, really should be a time when we're relaxed and we're enjoying one another. But the reality is, with the change of schedule, the kids out of school, it can be crazy. So I try to have some easy grab and go items that I find all in the dairy aisle, just to make sure that the kids have what they need during the day to snack on and to get the meals done. So just to give you an example, when, let's say we're going to the beach or we're going on a road trip, I like to fill a cooler with, ice, orange juice, water. But before we head out, I like to make these breakfast sandwiches. And I want to hear what you think, because I love adding cottage cheese to my eggs, because it really boosts the protein content and it makes the eggs really delicious. So I make these egg and cheese sandwiches using English muffins, but then I put them in aluminum foil and I freeze them. So I've got some in my freezer always, and then in the morning, you just throw them in the oven. They're good to go. You're going to save yourself so much money, and they're way better than any fast food breakfast sandwich. So I like to do that, and then I also make It's not a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
I also make a lot of parfaits in the summertime, especially. So I'll start with yogurt. It can be flavored, it can be plain, and I'll add like dried fruit, granola, and I'll have these like in cups, like ready to go in the fridge. And if I'm going out on a road trip or to the beach, I'll put it in a cooler and bring that kind of thing as well. So, there are so many options to be able to kind of make your life less stressful during the summer. And frankly, 41% of consumers are actually relying on things you find in the dairy aisle to sort of take the stress out of meal prep. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. I'm really grateful to the National Frozen and Refrigerator Foods Association, who's bringing this segment to us, and also giving us ideas. The pre-portioned products. We have refrigerators, we have freezers. There's a lot we could utilize, and I know my family struggles. I like to pre-make meals, and then I could just warm them up. So I love that idea. Any other suggestions you have?
Yeah. So there are a lot of like already portioned out snacks that are great to have on hand too. So like I always try to have string cheeses, and now there are little snack kits that are healthy. They've got cheese, they've got nuts and dried fruit in them. These are great things to have on hand when you're going, out to the park, or the kids are home for the day and you just want something for them to snack on. And I also make little like chocolate milk shakes. I basically I start with oat milk. I'll add some chocolate protein powder or just regular chocolate powder and shake it up in a cup and just have it like in the fridge for them to grab and go, or put it in a cooler bag when I'm heading out. So just again, like things that make your life easy. I love that you pre-prep your meals. I think that is such a time saver if you can get the hang of it. It saves you so much money and time. But like this kind of thing is just easy. It makes your life so much easier. And it's all stuff that you can find in your dairy aisle.
Right. And the nutritional aspect of it is great. Many people felt, well, I have to avoid dairy because of fat. I think in the 90s, there was this anti-dairy sentiment. And no. Actually, dairy could provide amazing sources of protein, vitamins. Talk to us about some of that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, now you're going to find so many dairy and non-dairy options in the same aisle. So I think that regardless of whether or not you have, allergies or you have preferences, and dietary choices that you're making, you can find just about anything for anyone in that aisle. But you're 100% right. We're finding that, you're going to get calcium and vitamin D, and you're going to get so much of these healthy fats from dairy. And also, if you do choose to select some non-dairy options, there are amazing non-dairy options. I mean, I personally, in our family, I'll eat traditional yogurt and cheeses, but then when it comes to milk, I actually prefer the oat milks and the almond milks. And with the creamers, I love the non-dairy creamers. I just feel like it's just such an easy way to get that kind of coffee house flavor at home. They, come infused with all kinds of delicious like syrups and flavoring, so you can like make your coffee really yummy in the morning. So I think the most important thing is get used to reading the nutritional facts in the back of the package. Know what is fortified and what isn't, and make your choices that way, because you can really find just about anything you need in the same aisle.
Absolutely. In the final minute, anything else you'd like to share on new sort of options and what our listeners should be thinking about?
Yeah, for sure. So there's 2 new products that are very cool. There is a whipped cottage cheese. I like to put lemon zest in that, chop up some herbs, and it's like an instant dip. There's also a type of yogurt that's called lebne. That's kind of like it's a little bit thicker. It's got a little bit more flavor. It's delicious. I use it in place of mayonnaise on sandwiches and burgers. And you can find all kinds of recipe inspiration and ideas on how to use everything you find in the dairy aisle at easyhomemeals.com. And since it is June and it's Dairy Month, they're actually giving away $10,000 if you enter on that website. So you never know. Just go to the site, check it out. You'll find great inspiration for meals all summer long.
I love it. I love it. One more time, give us the website.
It's easyhomemeals.com.
Wow. Yvette Rios, you've been on our show before. We are so grateful for all you do. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on, and we can't wait to have you back.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877 Doc Dali.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So what we started to talk about the last segment is how parents are asking when and how can they, shall we say, utilize marijuana, cannabis, THC, gummies into their autistic child's regimen to help with their symptoms, since they feel there is a dearth of pharmaceuticals that they could use. And it's, as I opened with, that's a little tricky, because until we have, let's say, adequate pharmaceutical options, doctors are going to be very reluctant to tell people to use something that they're getting, from an alley or from a unknown marijuana shop. Now, it's starting to be regulated, and there are options out there, but when it pertains to a child who could be on other medications, who's I get that the public is really upset at doctors at not having more cojones or more, shall we say, guts as it pertains to trying alternative medicine and complementary medicine. That won't change until the American public addresses the lawyers. Since a lawyer could sue and a family could sue if anything goes wrong, the only thing that protects an attorney from, or protects a doctor from losing their license and being sued is appropriately practicing standard of care. So if there is not a standard out there, if there are not guidelines from the USPSTF, the United States Preventative Services Task Force, or from the, shall we say, CDC, if we don't have anything where we could say, but look, they said this is what we need to do, they don't have that protection. And we have a growing public of parents with children with autism. I have nieces and nephews with autism. We're in trouble. We need, like RFK Jr. said, one, to find why we have 1 in 36 individuals, children, that are on the autism spectrum, and the number could even be higher, and why we are struggling, especially with those that are very severe, to work with them so that they can live, happy, productive lives. Those with severe autism need lifelong help. So, that when a parent says, look, this is what I tried, because they're desperate. They're not a bad parent. It's just we in the medical community can't necessarily endorse it yet. There was a Texas therapist, according to Daily Mail, Michael Zier, has a 9-year-old Ezekiel. He had trouble sleeping and would bang his head against hard surfaces. The Texas therapist gave him THC CBD supplements. He says now his child sleeps 7 hours a night. Now, we spoke about the nurse, the Texas nurse practitioner, Marlo Jeffrey, saying that she tried medication with her autistic son, Jaden Gott, and ended up using THC gummies. They say both families are clients of Dr. Moshin Makbul, a pediatric neurologist in Plano, Texas. He treats 40% of his autistic patients with cannabis. Now, why would that work? Why would marijuana or the THC component work? So one theory is that there's receptors, cannabinoid receptors, that can regulate mood, stress, sleep, brain development, and that these chemicals can help modulate that. Melatonin has been one treatment suggested. Not a lot of success with that. There's been, magnetic resonance treatment where they use magnetic fields to stimulate nerve cells in the brain. For Ezekiel, the Dr. Zier said that didn't do much. So being that his behavior is better, he's behaving in school, he's not headbanging, he's not scratching, of course, the doctor and the family are excited about this being an option. Now, marijuana has been linked to multiple issues. Heart attack, stroke, colon cancer, psychosis. So, as I've said, it's different strokes for different folks. We don't know what could happen. Have there been cases of children who have taken their parents' marijuana, their brownies, or their gummies and then had a psychotic event. Well, we need to see these studies. So RFK Jr. said that he wants to find the cure to autism by September, although I don't know if that's being overly optimistic. That's going to be difficult, but I love the fact that he wants to be on top of it. And that, so good for him. The more we know, the better. Is it our radiation? Is it all the medications we've been taking? Is it vaccines in pregnancy? Is it, what is it? And so I don't believe vaccines cause autism, but if we're seeing an uptick, we have to look at what are we doing now differently than we did in the past. And people always say, but Dr. Daliah, we're identifying it more. So the numbers are going to go up because we're better at identifying it. Yes and no. I think we are better at identifying milder cases, highly functional, and saying this could be what's going on. But if a child had severe autism back in the 1950s, we didn't miss it. If a child was struggling with potty training, struggling with connecting with their parents, struggling to communicate, it was identified. So we do have data on severe autism. It might not have been called autism at the time. It might have been called another term that is not politically correct anymore. But we wouldn't have missed that. Now, when people say, "Gosh, I wonder if so and so has Asperger's," I think that person has Asperger's. People are looking at movie stars and they're saying, "I wonder if he has this." Or Dan Aykroyd has been open about autism. I believe Daryl Hannah has been. But so those cases that are more milder, we probably are getting a little bit better at picking those up, so the numbers could go up. It's severe autism. No, we would have picked that up in the 1900s. No question there. So will marijuana eventually be used as something that can help curb symptoms for autism? I believe that we are going to see the medical community embrace it. However, it's going to take a lot of legal input. It's going to have to include a lot of medical studies. It's going to have to involve the CDC or some medical governing body to embrace it and offer some sort of protection for practitioners to use. Now, somebody could say, well, this pediatric neurologist is doing it. He has 40% of his autistic patients on it. Why isn't he losing his license? Why isn't he? Well, if he is using a certain brand, if he is researching it, if he is using his data and he doesn't have complaints or damages, if he's using informed consent, I don't know what he's done to legally protect himself, but a person will sue if there's damages. But if his patients are doing well, depending on the type of regimen and the milligrams and the very close monitoring, he can make a case that, look, I'm helping him. I'm watching for side effects. We got consent from the parents, and the benefits outweigh the risks. So medicine can move forward. I know a lot of people want this to be embraced, but if we don't know where the product is coming from, we don't know how much of the product, we don't know if it's an uneven dosing, if we, it's going to be very, very difficult, and the medical community is going to be very, very slow. Plus, we also don't want to drug the child, to sedate a child. Some of these strains are sedating. Well, you could sedate a child so much that they aren't then functioning well either. So if we are, shall we say, improving on a negative aspect of autism, it could work. But if we're blanketly trying to sedate, that could be an issue. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.